Hey everybody! Mercedes S-Class stopped by today. This is a customer of ours who doesn't have it as a priority car. But oddly enough, he drives it in the winter because it's all-wheel drive. And it's one of the few S-Class coupes that don't have AMG trim. Also, I think it is one of the few that are driven in winter, at least in Moscow. But in general, the car is quite unique. It is unique by the fact that during all the time that the owner has had it, and the time that it travels to us, nothing has happened to it in terms of breakdowns, and I think that for modern Mercedes, it is quite a unique story. It is again out of the standard equipment. Here is the first edition equipment I honestly do not own. I'm not really interested in the brand at all now. So it's a bit of a long shot for me, shall we say. What does this kit mean? Apparently, it is a crystal in the headlights. There are some crystals, I understand. Swarovski on the glove box, or on the ashtray. Anyway, there's something on the interior. There's something on the outside, but in general, it is not so often to meet a 5-liter Mercedes now. And, after we changed the oil on it yesterday, we started the engine. And I can tell you, as a person who hears Italian cars every day, this Mercedes with this engine sounds very good too. Now I'm showing you the bodywork. It's been exactly a year since we've had it. It's now done 156,000 kilometers. Who is interested, you can watch my previous video exactly 1 year ago. What was the mileage on it before that? But here I am just stating the fact that nothing has happened to it. And the interesting thing is, the same chrome, which always suffers here, is also generally in good enough condition, despite the fact that the car is used only in winter. There are a couple of flaws, but overall it's fine. Also the paintwork, it's also generally fine. I believe that this is a considerable mileage just for Moscow operation. Well, in general, you can't call it colossal, but nevertheless, that for these 156,000 kilometers nothing happened, I think it is cool. Moreover, you yourself realize that modern Mercedes, as it does not sound bad, but it is no longer samples of reliability and some super quality. But again, the fact that there used to be some 140th, it is of course a legendary car, but I had 3 or 4 of them, I can say that. It may have been and is super reliable, but that super reliability should always be fueled by money on a monthly basis. Not just once a year. No, monthly. Personally, it cost me about $1,000. But back when this car was current, $1,000 was a lot of money too. Now inflation and all that can probably be multiplied, well, at least by 2. Considering that I had it in the neighborhood of somewhere around $2,000 from the beginning. I had a 98 5-liter. I had a 96 320 long. And the 5-liter was a 97 short. So really, I had some sort of choice on these C-classes. But again, this is the body right here. In my opinion, probably. And moreover, this is the last C-class coupe we have. And that's kind of sad, isn't it? But in general, in terms of interior trim, you see, everything is leather. In general, and there is wood. The Germans were looking after it back then. Now, I understand that in general, car manufacturers are raising prices and lowering quality. It has simply become unprofitable for them, and even the Europeans have taken the Asian model of a disposable car as a basis. So, we see what we have, unfortunately. Let's go back to this beautiful car. As you can see, silver on red looks very aesthetically pleasing. The interior, of course, could do with a clean, that's for sure. But, well, we've got a picture here, without any... In general, embellishments? Yes, well... And accordingly, you can see who is interested in this car, what will happen to him at certain stages of time. Even on the rear window, it is interesting that there is no trace of air bubbles between, well, in the glass, which often happens on Mercedes and on many cars. Well, as you can see, the fact that a year ago there was this flaw here, it is exactly in the same condition here, and now it is present. The stability of Mercedes in this matter is also good, because as you saw on my channel, even Bentley and Chrome are in the worst condition. Well, the fact that it's driven in winter, you see, is also kind of an interesting fact like that. Well, basically, four-wheel drive. If you move around Moscow in general, there are no global snowdrifts. That's exactly what I told you about the crystal. Here it is present, well, and that's why I think that in winter, of course, a cabriolet, I think, would be a more complicated story, yes, to move in winter in Moscow, because after all, there is snow. But all-wheel drive coupes, why not? The snow is still clearing, it's not bad. So, in general, there are such options. Although, we still have quite a few clients who drive a Bentley coupe in winter, because it is all-wheel drive. And accordingly, who can afford it? In summer, many of them drive Ferrari, Lamborghini, but it means something that has rear-wheel drive. So basically, the cars are used for their intended purpose, literally. Well, and that's great. In terms of costs, once again, I think we've also changed some pads and discs, but that was a long time ago. During the year, there was some history with the trunk closer, or the lock. It just needed a little bit of grease or something like that, just to service it. After that, everything got better. And in fact, the car is back in service. That's great, but I am not agitating for Mercedes, but nevertheless, there are such facts when these cars show themselves on the good side. And again, the mileage of 156,000, I think that if you take, for example, to the European, but it is also possible, at least add 50% to that. But if not 100, that is in Europe, it would probably correspond probably in the neighborhood of 250,000. But write your opinion about it. Well, and in general, maybe someone has such Mercedes with high mileage would also be interesting. What happened or did not happen to them. But here it is of course important that the oil is changed just once a year, not by mileage, and, in principle, he does not drive 10,000 miles on it. Of course, if 10,000 kilometers in general will be overcome, the oil will be changed earlier. But usually, as I see from the statistics, this Mercedes comes to us once a year. But I hope that this will continue. But nobody's going to sell it. Well, we will see in the future at what mileage, what will happen to it, and whether it will happen. In general, it is an ideal option for those who love machinery and Mercedes brand, demonstrating that under certain conditions these cars can be bought and maintained. We did get the oil changed, though. Everything went well with this issue. So, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a good view, everybody. Write in the comments, how do you like this model as a Mercedes?